What is going on, guys? How do you do? Brandon Gentili here, Monday, March 20th, 2023. The algorithm hates truth. Remember that. Before you do anything here, before we get into the market and see what's going on today, to give you your quick rundown of what's going on, the algorithm hates truth. The only way out of this, unscathed or slightly less unscathed, is to spread truth and question of the mainstream narrative, any alternative pieces, the pieces that they don't want you to hear. It's probably the pieces you should hear. We need to spread those pieces of information far and wide. The more we can spread truth, the more we can overwhelm the algorithm, the more we can overwhelm the crowded masses, the herd, the sheeple type of misinformation, where people just continually do things that aren't in their best interest just because the herd is doing it, just because the flock is doing it. So remember that. Remember that. The dollar index fell to 103.5 on Monday, extending losses for the third session as investors anticipate that the Federal Reserve might not hike rates as much as previously thought because of the banking crises. In the span of 2 weeks, the tech startup-focused Silicon Valley Bank and the New York Signature Bank collapsed. First Republic Bank received a lifeline from U.S. banks, and Credit Suisse was taken over by UBS. Wow, it's like we've been talking about these things for a while. Is Blackstone, what's going on here? I think First Republic's in trouble here today. Their stock was down 50% earlier, I believe. Meanwhile, to ensure global dollar liquidity, the Fed offered daily currency swaps to the Bank of China, Bank of England, Bank of Japan, European Central Bank, and Swiss National Bank. The euro and the pound were up around 0.5% against the dollar in the afternoon trading in Europe. So let's see what is going on here. 103.3 on the DXY, the dollar relative strength, since we're already here. That is really about what it's been on average over the last couple weeks. So not a ton of movement there necessarily. However, you can see some really big swings over the last couple weeks in between there. So the average has been about that the last couple weeks, but we've had some wild swings in between there because people's fears are starting to get shuttered and they're starting to swing all over the place. This is what happens at the end of currency regimes. We have wild swinging, and there's a lot of people out there thinking they're going to have high inflation this decade. I'm one of those people. Low inflation, I'm not one of those people. But we're going to have higher and higher inflation going forward because that's the end of currency regimes. That just has to happen. And again, the Weimar Republic, remember what happened? When currency went into hiding and things started to kind of level out eventually, all of a sudden people flood back out in the market and prices start rising, and those currency units come flooding back into the market. People think, oh, I've seen this before. I've seen this happen before. So when prices start rising again, if they're hoarding stuff or whatever it might be, and those currency units come back into circulation, you're going to have massive problems going forward. Now, the one thing I got wrong over the last 10, 12 years is that we didn't have massive inflation because it wasn't fiscal driven. It wasn't just lining people's pockets with currency units. It was a lot of monetary inflation in the background and just lining the bank's balance sheets, and then kind of a silent, stealthy, longer term inflationary bout where asset prices are going up and people are just slowly becoming the frog in the boiling pot, where it wasn't that quick inflation that we are used to seeing, or hyperinflation where the gas lines are showing up and people's products are going through the roof. It showed up in shrinkflation, where you're buying a little bit less in your chip bag this year as you did last year, and then a little bit less year, and then prices going up of homes. Now you're buying them at $80,000, $90,000 12, 14 years ago, the mean or the median price home, and just in like a city, a really good rental city I'm thinking of here in Michigan, in Royal Oak for example, the median was $80,000 in 2011, 2012, and now 11 years later the median's like 220, 230. So just think about that. That's massive inflationary asset increase right there alone. So people are getting poorer that can't afford a home, or aren't in a home, or they're renters. They're getting poorer and poorer and poorer. The middle class are just kind of like, staying there, maybe staying equal or hedging their purchasing power. And, the people that are maybe owning their own homes. And then there's the people that are wealthy that own a ton of those homes or a ton of rentals or whatever it might be. And they're getting wealthy because they're able to just refinance those. Like, hey, cool, I'm going to refinance at a lower rate or a low-ish rate and pull a bunch of that money. I'll pull out $100,000 tax-free and I'll go live my life. And I'll do it again in 5, 10 years from now because it'll be up another $100,000, $200,000, and I'll do it over again, rinse and repeat. That's how inflationary systems work. The 1% understand how the game works. We talk about it here all the time. In inflationary environments, in debt-based environments, you have to go short the dollar, your currency, and buy actual assets to hedge that debasement to hedge the loss in purchasing power. In an equity-based system, in a gold, silver, Bitcoin-based system, you can hold the currency. You can just go to your job at McDonald's, spend less than you are, spend less than you're making, and you can just save the difference, and you get wealthier over time. That's what happens in an equity-based system. We don't have an equity-based system. Hence why savers are losers, and the middle class and poor get destroyed, because they still think you can just save your way to prosperity. Unfortunately, you can't do that in a debt-based inflationary system. Excuse me. So that's the dollar. That's my mini TED Talk within the TED Talk. Let's go to the bonds. Let's see what the bonds are doing. Under 3.5. The yield in the 10-year Treasury note was trading above 3.44% on Monday, rebounding from a 6-month low of 3.29%, hit earlier in the session after risk appetite rose a bit, as investors started to hope that banking crises might be under control. Keep dreaming. The collapse of Credit Suisse appears to have been avoided after the Swiss government engineered a forced takeover by UBS. What a clown world we live in, by the way. Although AT1 bonds were said to be wiped out. Meanwhile, the focus remains in the FOMC two-day meeting that will kick off tomorrow, with the central bank set to raise the Fed funds rate by 25 basis points, or 0.25%. So we shall see what happens. Again, at the end of the day, the Fed's going to do whatever. Who cares? Just get, at the end of the day, get independent and get resilient. Buy some Bitcoin, buy some gold, buy some silver, get some monetary assets outside the system. We just talked about real estate. We just talked about the power in that. Again, I don't believe in bonds because I think they're immoral. We've gone over it here. I think the bond market will collapse in the coming years, in the next 10, 20 years. And it's immoral. It's an electrical outlet plugged into itself, and you're guaranteeing your future enslavement, your future taxation of yourself and your kids. I don't know why anyone would give the government bonds. That's besides me. That's beyond me. So the bond market itself is, in saying that, a benchmark for what is happening in the world. And it has been getting bought up because you have people around the world trying to get flight to safety, going to the dollar, going to bonds, and thinking, hey, I'm going to be safe here because there's all kinds of craziness going on. This is also why you can see Bitcoin has been crushing 28,000 right now currently for Bitcoin. Going up because people realize, if I want an actual bank that just holds my wealth, and not be debased, not be censored, not be frozen. Bitcoin was discovered for that. Weird. So you have gold was that. It's a full reserve where you pay someone to store it, or yourself. You have to use actual manpower to store it, or you have to physically pay someone to store it because it's full reserves, actual money. And the dollar is debt. So they're just digits on a computer. So no one pays. You get paid to give your money and put in storage. At least usually you do in a bank, because they have to go lend it out. It's debt. There needs to be yield somewhere, because why would you hold a piece of paper otherwise? There's no reason to protect it. Who cares? So Bitcoin is that threading of the needle, the ability to cross time and space, do what gold couldn't do by going through space quickly and instantly. So they both go through time and save purchasing power through time, but both don't go through space. Only Bitcoin goes through space, where fiat can't go through time, but it can go through space. So you can see the problems where gold can't go through. It can't save purchasing power through, or extend purchasing power through space, but it can through time. And fiat is opposite. It can do it through space, but not through time. So Bitcoin does both. It can extend purchasing power through space and time. So that's why Bitcoin, one of the reasons it's been pumping right now. There's other reasons too. Again, just global liquidity being pumped up, and people's fear, just all kinds of different reasons. I still think in the short term, the next 6 months, this year, Bitcoin could pump down again, or drop down to whatever, 25, 20, 15, who knows? Really bad catastrophic things happen, which could very well happen. You'll see Bitcoin probably go down again because people will be liquidating the best, most liquid assets. Trying to think of the right word. Most liquid assets in order to shore up their position somewhere else. So I still think that could happen to Bitcoin, and probably some gold and silver too. So speaking of that, what gold and silver, again, gold is just under 2,000. I don't know if it hit over 2,000. You can see just this absolute climb. I mean, look at that. Again, gold doesn't make those moves usually. Silver, same thing, doing these really, really big moves because people are worried. People are scared. Crude oil getting crushed because people think, the economy is going to freeze up and they might not have activity. But again, the banks already show, the central banks they're gonna bail people out. This goes back to my theory of when there's mass foreclosures again, are people really gonna get foreclosed on? People with their cameras, hey, the Johnson family's getting kicked out of their home by Citigroup. MFers? No, they're not. This is not going to happen. They're going to come in. People are going to get bailed out, and it's going to be the transition. I think that's the transition to CBDCs, where they try to lock everyone into their slavery coin, and they say, hey, we'll buy your house for 150% of its value. All you got to do is download this app, and we'll give you the extra currency in your app. So we'll buy your house from you. You just rent from us, the government. The government's your landlord. So you can see how well they run VA and healthcare and everything else and the DMV. So let's run your housing. Well, you can just pay us. Don't worry. Right on your app. And all you got to do is to download this app, this slavery app. This CBDC app, and we'll give you the difference in the value of the home. We'll give it to you right on your app, and it's going to suck a lot of people in. If you trade your freedom for security, you will get none, and you deserve neither. That's the road we are on. That is the speeding trains coming at each other, and who will stand for what is right? Who will stand for what is right and what is true and what is moral, what is ethical? I know where I stand. Hopefully I make that very clear here. So that is the quick market update of the day. We got a lot of craziness going on. I feel very good though. I love trying to be, I'm not perfect, but I love trying to be a wartime general. I love when things are hitting the fan because I'm prepared. I feel very prepared. Getting food storage, water, food, ammo, security, land, building community, been building community for a long time. Buying gold, silver, and Bitcoin, being outside the system. I feel very good. I'm ready to thrive on the backside of this. I'm ready when things are collapsing to buy up the assets. And you know what? They're probably going to get demonized. There's probably a lot of people that are getting prepared, like us right now, that will get demonized. So be ready for that mentally as well. You will get demonized most likely by the herd, the social media class who was just watching Kim Kardashian TikToks all day long, and they will look to blame other people. And the politicians are going to do everything they can do to point fingers and blame it at other people. Oh, it was those domestic terrorists. Oh, it was those domestic terrorist preppers. It was those people that were they were conspiring against the system. They're conspiring to collapse the dollar, when in reality it's been collapsing for 110 years. That's what the Federal Reserve's job is, to collapse the dollar and the banking system. It's always opposite of what they say their primary goal is. And again, if you haven't caught on to that yet, I don't know what else to tell you. You can go back and watch all of our videos there as well. So let's see if Bitcoin's running while we close this out. I appreciate you coming to my TED Talk. This is not freedom advice. It's not financial advice. This is freedom advice, though. And the algorithm hates truth. So please share this out. Please let me know what your comments are and what you agree with, what you don't agree with, and battle it out in the comments. I feel very confident in my preparation and my homework I've been doing for multiple decades here, and seeing this play out as an investor, as a business owner. And I look forward to this playing out and thriving on the backside, because with great crisis comes great opportunity. And I appreciate your time here, because it's the most important asset we have. Bitcoin is time, and time is Bitcoin. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. Bitcoin is running. The sun is up, as Nolan Bowerley says. It's beautiful stuff. We know absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, that the Federal Reserve continues to monetize the debt, or the government continues to monetize the debt. The Fed's buying up our bonds. We are enslaved to the Federal Reserve. 31.6 trillion in debt. Look at this, how much we owe each person. This is beautiful stuff. And this is why we Bitcoin. This is why, because when you save in a liability you think is an asset, the dollar, you get poor. So this is the dollar against Bitcoin getting absolutely destroyed. This is why we save in a currency, a money outside of fiat. This is it. That's why. Bitcoin up to number 11 on the asset list. Just imagine, guys, when this is up to 5, 6, 7, 4, boy, oh boy, the world's going to start melting down. People are not going to know what to do. And get prepared. Get prepared mentally, though, for what is going to happen and what will transpire. Because there will be a lot of people that were prepared that will get blamed for this. So we need to stick together. We absolutely have to stick together. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Please share this out and overwhelm the world with truth and opinions outside the mainstream. So the fastest and best way we can override the wokeism, the corruption, and the just downright despotism and satanic things going on. I don't know what else to say. There's really just an evil culture just brewing inside of America and around the world. It's been at play for a long time, and really it's always there, right? And it's our job as good, sound, moral, just people to eradicate evil. It really is. And eradicate by being loving people and by being generous people and listening, being empathetic too, and being preparing for ourselves and our family and our loved ones. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.